Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is David Kleckner. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am a father, I am a husband, I am a professional that's been working with large corporations for the last 15 years. Currently, I work as a healthcare administrator overseeing the safety and well-being of my patients and my team. Prior to that, I worked at MGM Resorts and was a hotel executive overseeing more than 1,000 people. I'm also heavily tattooed. While tattoos have become a bit more mainstream, they still carry a bit of stigma in our society. People are often judged and the quality of their work or their achievements diminished based on how they choose to decorate their bodies. By the end of this speech, I will demonstrate to you that tattoos hold no effect on the quality of people's work. To do this, we will explore the history of tattoos, my personal relationship with them, and talk about some famous and influential people who have achieved great things and are also very heavily tattooed. To start, we'll explore the history of tattoos and seek to understand a little bit more about the prejudices that come along with them, the history of the art form, and what changes are being made in society today to help remove those prejudices.
Take it off.
So tattoos date back thousands of years. According to a Gale Opposing Viewpoint Online article, they had found a 5,300-year-old mummy in 1991 that was adorned with over 60 tattoos. Tattoos have been a part of many cultures, from ancient Egyptians to the Maori of New Zealand. The traditional tomoko, which is the facial tattoos of the Maori, has come back into style more recently as the people of that country have worked to retake their culture after Christian missionaries put a stop to that practice in the mid-19th century. The State Museum of New Zealand, Te Papa, has a wonderful department that is dedicated to preserving the history and exploring more about those tattoos themselves. In modern history, tattoos have carried a little bit more of a stigma to them. In the more recent years, they were cowboys and outlaws. A search through even our own school's CSN's website, CQ Researcher, when you search for tattoos, it came up with 19 articles. 13 of those articles referenced gangs, violence, jail, prostitution, and terrorism. Tattoos had a bad reputation in the state of New York, actually outlawed tattooing from 1960 up until 1997, which is ironic because tattoos now in New York is one of the hub for some of the greatest tattooers in the world. And still in some countries, public displays of tattoos are frowned upon. In Japan, certain areas like spas and baths and gyms have only recently started to lift their bans on people displaying their tattoos. I saw a news article in Japan had displayed a sign that some of the female attendants could show their tattoos if they were smaller than, I think 11 inches by 11 inches, so no full back or no full chest or things like that. But those things are changing, and part of the younger generation is helping to change those things. Harris poll in 2015, according to a Harris poll in 2015, tattoos were significantly more popular in the younger generations. 47% of people 18 to 35 reported at least one tattoo, and 36% of those aged 36 to 50 reported having at least one tattoo. Now I want to talk about my own personal experience with tattoos, and some of the earliest tattoos that I can remember were actually on my childhood martial arts instructor, who actually later became my first boss and employer. He was a very successful man and still is, runs his own business, teaches martial arts to the young and the old and everyone in between of the community. He's covered in tattoos, and when I was young, I didn't see those tattoos as anything wrong. They were merely pictures hung on the house that he built with his success. And then throughout my career, I've come to find more and more people that I've worked with, more and more mentors and people that I've worked for and built relationships with that have been covered in tattoos that, maybe hid them at work or had different way of presenting when they were in an employment environment. But the bonds that we created over sharing and learning about each other's tattoos ultimately made us work better together and help build those relationships. The tattoos that I have tell a story. They're a beautiful color tapestry of the things that I love, the things that I find beautiful, and the things that bring me joy. Fortunately for me, I've found in my career now a company that prides itself on welcoming the uniqueness of its own employees all the way to the body art that they have on themselves. But not all companies are like this, and we want to work to change that. So now I want to talk about some influential people and some famous people that have tattoos. One of the most popular ones, we find artists and musicians and athletes, people that we revere, that we cheer for, that we root for, covered in tattoos. But sometimes we and society don't want that in the boardroom. They want that, in a place where they can cheer. And the example that I want to choose for that is Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal is covered in tattoos, and what most people don't know is probably one of the more savviest business people that exists today. Outside of his NBA career, he's amassed a portfolio of over $500 million in companies and investments, and that was after he left the very lucrative job of being an NBA superstar. From famous people to world leaders, the possibilities for those who have tattoos have opened. I want to reference Nania Mahuta, who became the first Indigenous female New Zealand foreign minister in 2020. In 2016, she became the first female member of New Zealand Parliament to wear a facial tomoko, like we talked about earlier. As more and more famous people and more influential people achieve greater and greater things with their tattoos, it helps break down the barriers that exist for those that are trying to do those same things in their careers. And while those examples are helpful, it's not just famous people or people with tattoos that can help reduce those stigmas and break down those barriers. So I'm grateful that I was able to get the chance to speak with you today and show off my own personal experience with tattoos. We discussed the history of tattoos, my personal relationship with them, some influential and world leaders doing great things with tattoos. And as you go back into your day-to-day and professional lives, I would ask you to remember the things we talked about today and judge people based on the quality of the house that they build, not on the paintings they choose to hang in. Thank you.